Daniel here. Hope you are doing exceptionally well today. I've been looking forward to talking about this conversation, or maybe perhaps just reading it to you, that I've had with a viewer from the YouTube channel. I asked her if I could share this. She said that's fine, but she didn't want her name in here. So she suggested sleep less. I think it was sleep less or not sleeping in New York, which was a little hard to say. So, keeping the big apple in mind, I'm just going to call her Apple. And we are going to see, I think, as we go through these emails, look out for, try in your mind, trying to figure out what you think is the main reason that Apple cannot get to a place where she sleeps well consistently. And I think you can figure it out pretty quickly, but you figuring that out yourself, I think will help you in your quest towards, or your journey towards, better sleep as well. So let's get started here. May 7th, and by the way, there are a lot of emails, so this could be a part 1. I'm not sure yet, but we'll start here. May 7th, I get an email and we shall read it. I'm just putting my glasses on. Here we go. Hi. I'm doing a CBTI 8-week course. I did one last summer with a different practitioner. I've had insomnia for almost a year and had bouts of it before that. I've had sleep anxiety for years too. Last year, I get up to 7 hours. I get up to a 7-hour sleep window when I was sleeping well most nights. This time, I'm up to 6.75 hours sleep window, but my sleep and happiness with my progress is not as consistent this time, despite doing the best I can following the techniques. Just a quick parenthesis there. Sleep window. This is something you use when you're doing bedtime restriction, a CBTI technique, and it's giving yourself a certain window from, let's say, 11 p.m. till 6 a.m. for example. That's a 7-hour sleep window, and you're not supposed to sleep with the outside of that window. It's one of the core techniques. So that said, let's keep reading. This week, I've had several bad nights in a row. What could explain this? I know I still have anxiety around sleep and obsess, watch YouTube videos, maybe too much. I know it's a long journey, but why do some people improve so quickly and I don't? I always worry how I'll get through my day and how I'll be able to do the other things I want to do doing my life in the future while having this problem. My reply. Hi, Apple. Thanks for reaching out, and sorry to hear that you're having trouble sleeping. Reading your email, 2 things came to my mind. I think I know why you still have trouble sleeping. In parenthesis. In fact, you're onto this yourself, end parenthesis, which is always a good start. Firstly, expectations are a major sabotager. CBTI helped you in the past. When you try it again, you now have something to compare with. You may be monitoring more, you may have expectations. This could be why things are different this time. More importantly, the reason some people recover quickly is because they're not wondering why others recover quickly. The reason you have many bad nights in a row is because you wonder why you have many bad nights in a row. In other words, the insomnia is not the problem. It's your worry about the insomnia and your reaction to it that's the real problem. I think you at some level know this. It's another way of saying, yes, obsessing over sleep is the issue, which you did say in your email. This said, what should you do? The solution, of course, is not to worry and let go, which is easy to say, but if you tell someone not to think of a pink elephant, they think about a pink elephant. So you have to become preoccupied/obsessed with something else. Those things you want to do in the future, do them now, as in today, this minute. Don't give an inch to insomnia. Do a sleep detox for 2 weeks. Don't watch a single video, don't read about sleep online. Apart from the CBTI provider you are working with, don't even think about sleep. As a final, a little bit of contradictory advice here. I think Sasha Stevens' book could help you a lot. Hope this all helps and hang in there. Next email from Apple. Hi, thank you so much for your response. I was a little bit worried about that because it's very hard to control my obsessive and worrying mind. I do a lot of self-care and anti-anxiety stuff already. Have you seen people fail or succeed who have my anxious and obsessive tendencies? I know it's a 70 to 80% success rate with CBTI. Are people like me the outliers or no? Also, confused about stimulus control. When I know that I should get out of bed if I can't sleep, I feel like it trains my mind and body to expect to wake up and get out of bed during the night rather than sleep. My reply: anytime. I do feel that having a strong component of anxiety can be a reason CBTI doesn't lead to a complete recovery. That said, it helps everyone, really. I know Tuan, for example, who I think has a lot of anxiety. He works really hard on CBTI and is doing okay. He doesn't sleep fantastic, but much better than before CBTI. Your stimulus control question is very good. I think if someone got out of bed whenever they woke up, that could create problems. I think a good way of doing stimulus control is not to go by time, but by how you feel. Meaning, if you wake up, try imagine yourself in some really pleasant situation like a beach in Hawaii. If that comes easy to you, stay in bed. If you end up frustrated, leave the bed. The most important thing is not spending time frustrated in bed. Best. Apple's reply: thank you. I know also that sleepiness is not fatigue, and poor sleep or fatigue don't lead to health problems, but when I'm fatigued, it feels really scared to me, like something is very wrong and like I can't get through the day. How do I remind myself all of that I'm okay and can cope? It feels like I'm wading in water or out of it a lot. My reply. Another email actually from Apple here. How does this stimulus control eventually make me not wake up and get out of bed a lot at night? My reply. I hear you. There is not a specific answer. I believe doing what is really hard, trying to make yourself active, meet people, go outside, is really important to counter fatigue. Having coffee in the morning, I believe, is good if you like coffee. Getting natural light is good. Some use bright light devices. Stimulus control is mainly to prevent that you start associating the bed with insomnia. You know how some people feel sleepy, but as soon as they go to bed, they wake up? That's when the bed is associated with insomnia, and you want to break that association. Stimulus control won't really prevent you from waking up. That's more where bedtime restriction and working on reducing hyperarousal and anxiety comes in. Did this answer your question? Apple's reply. Yes, thank you. How do I know if my fatigue is a problem or I'm fatigued versus tired? What's the difference and does it matter? My reply. Oh yes, that's a good question again. To me, tired can mean fatigued and it can mean sleepy or both. It's important to tell one from the other. Fatigue means that you have no energy. It's hard to get going. You just don't feel like doing anything. Sleepy means that your eyelids are heavy. If you read a book, when you have to read the paragraphs again because you fell asleep, you are longing to sleep. Those are signs of sleepiness. One reason it's important to tell one from the other is because they signal different things. Sleepy signals that you need more sleep. It signals that you haven't got enough sleep. Fatigue can come from many sources: mood issues, medications, overactivity, underactivity, health issues, to name a few. The important thing to know is that fatigue does not signal that you didn't get enough sleep or that you should sleep. Apple's reply. Yes, thanks. Do you hear people saying that they feel very out of it, unsteady or loopy and not like themselves at all? I don't know what that is and how to interpret it. My reply. Not those exact words, but the overall feeling that something is off, foggy, walking in water are common things I hear. Often what happens is that with insomnia, you have poor quality sleep, plus your circadian rhythm is off. This makes you feel as you describe. Apple's reply. Okay, even when I'm doing sleep restriction and stimulus control, that can still happen, ? I feel both fatigued and tired a lot. My reply. Yes, it can definitely happen. The question then becomes if the fatigue is due to poor quality sleep or something else. If with bedtime restriction and stimulus control, you sleep pretty solidly and feel less fatigued, you know the fatigue was sleep related. If you sleep pretty solidly and still have the fatigue, it's probably caused by something else than a sleep related problem. Apple's reply. I guess it is happening more after the nights I'm not sleeping well and when I obsessed over how I feel all day. I get worried and more fatigued at certain times of the day, like the afternoon. Is that common too? ? I'm not going to research sleep for now, but I did order that book if you think I should read it. My reply. I think all what you described is expected, and nothing you told me or expressing here is uncommon. Sometimes it helps to keep a diary, write down in the morning how you slept, and in the evening how you felt, finding, which many do, that you can have a terrible day even after better sleep and vice versa, can make you fear bad nights less. That can help a lot. I think it's a great book, and I don't think reading it will make you more preoccupied, so go ahead. By the way, short parenthesis here, we're talking about Sasha Stevens' book, The Effortless Sleep Method. Now, Naomi's reply. Thanks. Although I don't usually feel this loopy and out of it after good and longer nights of sleep! Exclamation mark. I just want to know that I just want to know that it will get better, like it was other times during this round of CBTI, and don't have to wait forever for that to happen. My reply. I'm very hopeful it will. Hope is your friend. Expectations, on the hand, can backfire. So I think just like be hopeful, but don't monitor too much. Just keep moving forward, and you have a great chance of sleeping better. Naomi's reply. Okay, I'm doing CBTI and keep my sleep diaries for weeks. Have you seen others improve over time for weeks in CBTI and then have many bad days and feel crazy? More from Naomi. I also may be thrown off this week by someone sharing my bed for a couple of nights and the anxiety, anticipation leading up to it. And more from Naomi. Also, we extended my sleep window last week, and I don't want to have to decrease it again for the 8th week, but maybe I'll have to. My reply. Yes, sometimes it takes several months. You can listen to episode pod 7, Suzanne's 2-month journey. She struggled a lot, but did better in the end. When something throws you off, one thing to keep in mind is that you can look at it from a positive angle. There's something you can be thrown off from. In other words, you have gotten to a point where from things can get worse. You have made progress. The other important thing is not to react. When you get thrown off, just look forward. Don't change anything. Hopefully things will stay stable. Apple's reply. Thanks. So how do we evaluate how we've done at the end of 8 weeks if we've backtracked? My reply. I would check what your therapist says, but personally, it's all about how patients feel. When people are less afraid, less worried, and feel better daytime, they're on the right track. Apple. Okay, I will. I'm sleeping worse and less this week than in the previous weeks. My reply. So this week is then the outlier. It's hard, but try to focus on the fact that you were sleeping better the past weeks. That's really important. The less you focus on this week, the better. The concept is very well described in BedTyme Stories, another book by Sasha Stevens that's really good. Apple. Okay, thanks. I can buy that too. Which book should I read first? Question mark. I slept better last night, but the anxiety's up again now because I assume it was just a unique buildup of sleep drive and all we worried about tonight. It's so ridiculous. You see many outlier weeks late in CBTI process? Question mark. It makes me think I can't tolerate change. That is someone coming to stay with me. More from Apple. Hi Daniel. I was also wondering whether you've seen people get stuck in certain sleep restriction window, example 6.5 hours, and not be able to sleep longer than that like I used to. My reply. Hi, it's funny you ask. I just did a video on that exact topic. No, sleep needs can't be manipulated. What happens often though is that people find that they function well on, for example, 6.5 hours of sleep and don't need more. Apple. Thanks. I watched it. Have you seen people stuck on a short sleep window for a long time? Question mark. How does our sleep time increase when we're stuck like that? My reply. Cool. You can't actually get stuck in short sleep. Your body needs a certain amount and will try to get it by making you sleepy. Some people, like business people, think they can learn to sleep on 4 hours, but that's impossible. Apple. Gotcha. Have you seen people stuck on a short sleep window of 6.5 hours or so for a long time and not able to sleep longer? How does our sleep lengthen again? And more for Apple. You hear some insomniacs who get 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night, right? Question mark. Me. Oh, absolutely. But that's because of the insomnia, not because they have a sleep window. Many of them actually spend like 8 or 9 hours in bed! Exclamation mark. Apple. Right. Are you optimistic my sleep window and my sleep can lengthen further and hopefully to 7 hours or more when I feel more rested every day? My reply. I made a few videos on this topic. Check out number 158. It's exactly answering these questions. Basically, your goal is to get great sleep and feel amazing. When you see that as your goal, rather than reaching a certain number, you start doing better and better. Apple. I'm finishing the 8 weeks. This week I slept better, but I'm still at 6.5 hours of sleep restriction at night and want to extend it. But sometimes I fall asleep early on the couch and then I don't sleep as well closer to wake up time. I'm debating going away on weekends or planning longer trips with friends because I feel weird and embarrassed having a different and shorter sleep schedule than they do, and potentially being very tired and out of it if I don't sleep enough or well for a while with them. Also being jealous of their sleep. My reply. I'm actually very encouraged by this email. Firstly, because you slept better. really think about that and consider writing it down and telling somebody. The more you focus on any improvement, the better you will sleep. What makes me even more encouraged is that you're thinking of going away on weekends. My thought on that is you absolutely should do that. Nothing is better than a change of environment and spending time with friends. I've seen so many times how a trip or a camping week becomes a turning point. For example, Sasha Stevens, who wrote The Effortless Sleep Method, or Naomi or Suzanne from the YouTube channel. When you are away, you should not think about your sleep. Just enjoy your time with friends. Go to bed when they do. Try to get up perhaps not more than 2 hours later than you usually do, but that's it. Not making any accommodations for insomnia is really the final stage of recovery. Now, in the other email you asked about what others sleep more than you, they don't. Big B studies show that adults with sleep issues, without sleep issues, when asked, they think they sleep 7 hours, but they actually sleep between 5.5 to about 7 hours. 6 hours is average. It's just that non-insomniacs overestimate how much they sleep. Keep looking forward. Ignore it if you have a bad stretch again. And I believe you will be doing better and better until you don't think much at all about sleep and you sleep well. Apple, thanks very much for the support. So how come normal sleepers stay in bed for 7 to 9 hours and most of the time feel like they're sleeping and don't have insomnia? How could they be awake for much of that time and don't know about it? My reply, anytime. It's a great question and speaks to an aspect of insomnia, which is perception. The short answer is they just don't think about it. Let me share something with you. I made this app for insomnia, still working on it, and I asked friends to test it. The most common complaint was, how am I supposed to know how much I sleep? Can't the app figure that out? People were annoyed. Now I realize this happened because people without insomnia just have no idea how much they sleep. If you ask them, they will think about what time they go to bed, what time they get up, and assume they sleep for all the time in between. Sometimes perception is a big part of insomnia. Apple, I understand that, but if they're spending a good hour awake at night or so, wouldn't they know it and qualify as insomniacs and be frustrated by the insomnia? I still feel tired and anxious many days, which frustrates me. I don't think 6.5 hours of sleep restriction is maintainable long term for me, but I also often fall asleep early, which probably hurts the protocol. Question mark? My reply, totally understand your question. I think for most people, it's simply that it takes 20 minutes to fall asleep. They're up 20 minutes during the night, and they wake up 20 minutes before they think. So that's the hour they overestimate. If someone randomly would wake up and stay up an hour, as long as they didn't react to that, they'd go back to sleeping well. Now, quite often I see patients in clinic that have gotten into a pattern of waking up from, for example, 3 to 4. Most of the time when I ask them if they want to change it, they go, no, I just read for an hour and that's fine. For those that want a change, I recommend bedtime restriction. Do these people that have gotten a habit of staying up from 3 to 4 a.m. have insomnia? Question mark? No, they don't. Because insomnia is when you feel you have trouble falling or staying asleep. Now, I do think you falling asleep early is a problem, not a big one. Your biggest step forward will happen when you no longer wonder how much others sleep, why you can't sleep, etc. Thinking about sleep is almost always what drives insomnia once someone has started CBTI. The final and most important step is replacing sleep preoccupation. To not think about sleep and insomnia. That's why I got so excited hearing that you were thinking of doing a weekend getaway with your friends. I'm going to stop there. This conversation continues, but let's just call this part 1. And then at some point we'll continue with part 2. And I'm, of course, super hopeful that Apple will get to a place of much better sleep. But to answer I asked you to kind of think about in your mind why you think that Apple has a hard time getting to that place where she's sleeping well. And I believe, and I share this with Apple, of course, it is because she thinks so much about her sleep. She's constantly monitoring how much she's sleeping and how she's feeling. She's thinking much about other people's sleep, and this creates a scenario where like so much attention goes towards insomnia, and insomnia loves attention. The more we think about sleep, the less we can sleep. The more we try to sleep, the less we can. So I'm hopeful that Apple will be able to get past all this attention she gives to insomnia. So let's conclude with part 1 here, and any comments are always super welcome. If you want to send me an email, that's super, super helpful to Daniel@insomniainsight.co. And I hope to have you back here real soon. Until then, take it easy.